Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Give Me a Mic Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm Chris Day alongside my co-host Wilson Detres.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We have a lot to talk about today.
And we're going to start off with UFC 225, CM Punk's fight against Mike Jackson.
Yeah, you and I actually watched this.
We did.
Live. We went out to dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we tuned into the fight. And, let's just talk about that and review it.
I mean, there's not a lot to discuss in terms of this fight. CM Punk, let's face it, he got his ass kicked. He lasted the 3 rounds, but he really didn't have much offense to speak of in that fight.
He didn't have much offense. He didn't have a lot of it at all, actually. He ended up finishing the fight, busted open. By the second round, he was pretty much winded, and he wasn't doing much to help his case, now that you say that. He was doing a lot of kicks and spinning that was very slow, and it had me very concerned. I remember telling you that he was going to get knocked out if he kept doing that.
I thought he would have got knocked out. The way he was going for kicks and then spinning around after them, I couldn't understand why you would do that in a UFC fight. Because if Mike Jackson had timed that correctly, it's a straight punch to the face. It's it's not defended or anything, and it's just you're going down.
If he was against any other experienced UFC fighter, he would have gotten knocked out in the second round.
Agreed,
no doubt.
And to go to your point, there was a point. I think it was the beginning of the third round or early on, where Mike Jackson actually let Punk get up. He had Punk down, and he could have finished the fight and just let him get up.
You're right. And even Punk was shocked by that. And even he was like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think he even asked, what are you doing? And that's something you don't do that in UFC. You don't just let your opponent get up. Like, you finish the fight.
Some fighters do it out of respect. Some fighters do it out of just for respect for the sport and respect for the athlete. Some of them do it. Some of them do that, and it comes back to bite them in the ass, and we've seen it before. I don't know why Mike Jackson did it. I think he might have done it out of pity. I don't know. I'm not speaking for him. But that was a mistake in his part. He could have just easily finished the fight right there and won. Punk could have taken advantage of that at any time.
I was hoping that Punk would win after Jackson let him up. Just, that's what you get for letting me have a second chance. But, it wasn't the case.
True. Punk was definitely winded. After the second round, on the third round, he was definitely breathing, heavily, and he was showing the signs of what this fight was doing to him.
Yeah, he looked pretty weak in the third round. He really wasn't. He was kind of just defending himself the entire time.
Yeah, Mike Jackson too. He was definitely throwing, very, very weak punches at Punk. And let's be honest, he had Punk down, and he was over him for like a good 3 minutes.
Yes, just on top.
A good 3 minutes. There's no way that you're going to be over your opponent for 3 minutes and not finish them off. In a post interview.
Well, I mean, that does happen in UFC, but not with someone who's as inexperienced as Punk, especially.
In a post interview with Dana White, he said that he didn't like Mike Jackson's performance in the fight.
Yes.
And he said that there was a lot of times in that fight that he could have ended it, and he didn't end it.
He could have, yeah.
Now, I don't know why he did that. Again, we could only speculate. Was it because he felt sorry for the guy? Was it because he wanted the guy to have a good showing and make him last the 3 rounds? We don't know. Again, we can only speculate. But Dana White wasn't happy with the fight. He was actually hoping it ended sooner than later.
Yeah. I believe Dana White also said it should have been on Fight Pass.
Yeah, he regretted putting it on the main event.
Fight Pass is, I believe, what happened before the prelims on FS1. This is just online-only fights.
Fight Pass is online only, right?
Yeah.
So, you're right. And Dana White regretted putting it on the pay-per-view.
Even as
the opener for the pay-per-view. He regretted putting it on there.
It was on the show because of Punk's name.
Yes.
That it will draw buys from WWE fans and wrestling fans to watch CM Punk fight.
And yes, and they asked Dana about his future, Punk's future. And he, not to sugarcoat it, he pretty much said he's done. He said we gave him 2 shots. He lost both fights. Yeah. And, there's not much I can do with him. And
if CM Punk fights again, it will not be for UFC.
No, I don't believe it'll be for UFC. I believe Punk. I'm not trying to downplay his UFC career. He went into something he had absolutely no experience in. He's trained for what was it, like 4 years now? If you count 2014
total, I believe,
till now, yeah, it's been 4 years. He's been training. Not many wrestlers, professional wrestlers, would even dare to do that. He went in there, he gave it his all. He wasn't successful, but hey, he earned my respect.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who criticize Punk, saying, "Oh, got destroyed, whatever."
Right.
Let's see you do it.
Sure.
Let's see you go train for UFC and see how you do.
Sure. Especially at his age, he's 39 now.
Yeah, he didn't back down from it. He went there, gave it his all. Look, it didn't turn out the right way for him. It happens. But at least he tried it. He did it.
No, but you respect the heart and you respect the determination and the desire that he had to do this. And whether or not he won or not, he definitely put his name out there. He made a name for himself. He was already a big name as it is, but he established himself as somebody who's willing to do whatever it takes to make a dream come true. And he made his dreams come true. And that's definitely something that earns our respect. You're right. He likely will not have a fight in the UFC. And if he does, it'll be an online fight. Maybe Bellator?
It'd have to be Bellator, maybe Pride Fighting. I don't know, but
Bellator, they have fighters who aren't exactly in their prime. They
True.
Showcase those guys. He might have a future there. I think what we can take out of all this is that Punk, unfortunately, was, at least until now, unable to walk out of the shadow of pro wrestling. I
agree, yeah. We'll see if he goes back to pro wrestling. I'm not saying he's going to go back to WWE because I don't think that will ever happen. There is the never say never. But I think it's a possibility he does show up at the All In show in Chicago on September 1st, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Right.
But, we'll see. Who knows what the future holds for CM Punk now? The WWE trial is over. He won that. He lost the second UFC fight.
We didn't talk about the trial. We should talk about that.
Well, we talked about it briefly last week, about how he won.
You're right.
But, so he won the trial. He lost the fight. But those are the two big stories that were surrounding CM Punk, and now both of those are over. So now you're looking at what's next for CM Punk.
Right.
That's,
I think... You know what? This is a guy who's earned millions with WWE, even before. He's earned millions definitely now in these fights. He doesn't need to work.
No, he doesn't.
He's set for life. No matter what these smart fans say online, he's set for life. No matter how much you want to criticize him, no matter how much you want to downplay his UFC career, his WWE career, or his decisions post WWE, he's set for life. He's definitely got options. He's writing for comic books for Marvel.
Yes, and he does do some signings here and there.
Yeah. He's set for life. He doesn't owe anybody any explanation. No. He's closed the door on his WWE career. He's closed the door in professional wrestling in general.
He has stated that it is in his rearview mirror.
Yeah. So, he at 40 years old, guys, you got to understand, you're at the point where,
what does he have left to prove?
He doesn't have anything left to prove. You can make the argument he's a legend in the WWE, in wrestling in general. He's a legend. He doesn't have anything to prove. He's done everything he set out to do. I remember he mentioned in the podcast with Colt Cabana that he said he was a failure for never main eventing WrestleMania.
I wouldn't agree with him saying he's a failure. I think it's a travesty he never main evented.
That's what he said. He said, I consider my professional wrestling run a failure because I never main evented WrestleMania.
But that wasn't his fault. That was the booking.
Right.
He should have main evented WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
I 100% he should have main evented WrestleMania.
But then again, you make the argument. He never main evented WrestleMania. However, WWE, the way they book and the way they promote things, especially the pay-per-views, especially WrestleMania, they say that Punk was in the main event because he was wrestling The Undertaker at 29, wrestling Jericho for the WWE title at 28, wrestling Those were the only two manias.
Faced Orton at 27. It wasn't considered a main event.
It wasn't considered a main event. And then So for those two manias, 28 and 29, he was in the WWE Championship match, and then he was against the Undertaker, which is an honor in and of itself. WWE was promoting those as main events. Do you consider that as a main event?
It didn't close the show. I consider 28 something special because he faced Jericho in the WWE title match and retained the title.
Yes.
In the match. So he retained the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. I think that's a big accomplishment in itself.
No, you're right. It's up for speculation whether you consider it a main event or you don't consider it a main event. I consider it the main event of a show is what closes the show.
Agreed.
You can spin it however you want to spin it. There's 27 main events in the show. It doesn't work like that. The main event is what closes the show. And Punk was unable to close the show at WrestleMania.
Well, WWE tries to tell us stuff like Sheamus and Daniel Bryan going 18 seconds is a main event when it opens the show. And that's not the case. That was advertised as a main event.
You make a good point there.
Sheamus wins the Rumble. You're in the main event of WrestleMania. Congratulations, you're opening the show.
Right.
That's not the main event.
You make a good point. Daniel Bryan, yeah, you're right. Daniel Bryan and Sheamus was in the main event. That was an 18-minute squash match that shouldn't have even happened.
That was a joke.
It was a joke. You're right. I don't consider Punk a failure. I don't consider him failing in WWE at all. He definitely left his mark there. A future there, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
No.
I don't see it happening within the next year or two. Punk's future right now is up to Punk. He doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to do anything. He can just relax and hang out with his buddies and have a cold one for all you know.
Yeah, so we'll have to, a cold one, what, a cold Pepsi?
Yeah, you're right. A cold Pepsi.
But, so we'll have to stay tuned to see what's next in the future for CM Punk.
Sure. But hey, he definitely earned my respect. He went out there, gave it his all.
Yeah, he has my respect also.
He did go to the hospital following his UFC fight. He had a CT scan done on his face.
Yes, I did hear with that. I'm not sure what the results were.
Oh, he was fine. He was fine. He was discharged actually, not too long after, and he declined a post-match interview.
Well, we'll move on from CM Punk and UFC and talk about the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion show that happened on the 9th, I believe it was.
Yes, this last weekend.
Yes, a lot of big stuff happened on that show. I'll start off with the Young Bucks capturing the New Japan tag team titles from Sonata and Evil. Wow. So now the Young Bucks have another tag team championship to add to their collection.
Yes.
Also staying with members of the Bullet Club, Cody Rhodes, well, now it's just Cody, but Cody Rhodes, Hangman Page, and the villain Marty Scurll defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi, Jushin Thunder Liger, and Rey Mysterio. Ooh. So some legends went down on that one.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great match.
I haven't actually gotten to see that match yet.
I haven't either. I've been caught up this week, but I definitely, just by hearing the card, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I've seen some highlights. I've seen some of it. I didn't get a chance to watch it live. But that's one of them, and they beat some legends.
Absolutely.
Note, Cody and Marty Scurll, they're going to be wrestling for the ROH World title coming up at ROH's event, Best in the World. It's coming up in Baltimore soon against champion Dalton Castle. Okay. And that relates to the All-In show, because if Cody wins the ROH title, the main event of the All-In show will be Cody versus Nick Aldis, who's the NWA champion, who wrestled in TNA as Magnus. It'll be a double title match.
Now, this All-In pay-per-view, is this a conjunction partnership with the NWA?
I'm not sure with the NWA. I know the Bullet Club members, Cody and the Young Bucks, have gotten permission from ROH to do certain things.
Okay. So there is a cooperation.
And there's a cooperation with other companies, too. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is involved. I believe New Japan is involved, too. Not New Japan really, but there's going to be no other indie shows running shows in that area that weekend. I don't even mean in the state. They have. I really hope all hands on deck for that show.
I really hope this opens the door for all these indie guys and guys who are wrestling outside of the WWE. That it can happen, and you guys can join together and make such a huge event happen that even rivals the WWE. Because just looking at you haven't even finished this card. I remember I was watching, was it New Japan Pro Wrestling with a buddy of mine, and I was just watching a match for I don't even remember what it was, and I remember watching it and it was a great match, and I said, man, this is incredible. And then I tune into WWE and I see who they're investing in, which is Roman Reigns, and I go, this is a joke.
It is a joke.
This is a joke. Like you're watching class act wrestling. You're watching old school grappling wrestling, and you're watching, wrestling for what it's supposed to be with no restrictions. And obviously, you make sure the wrestlers are well taken care of, that they're not injured or whatever. But you don't stop the match for a little blood. You don't stop the match for a cut.
No.
You don't stop. Right. So I was just enthralled and invested into it. And then I go into the WWE and I see who they're investing in, which is Roman Reigns, and it's a joke. And it definitely makes me appreciate this, and this card that you're listing definitely makes me appreciate it much more now.
Yeah. Keeping with the card, after his first New Japan match with Kenny Omega, Jericho was back in New Japan. He faced Naito for the Intercontinental Championship, and he won the New Japan Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, and this, like I said, to myself, I was talking to myself, taking notes earlier today, and it just expands Jericho's legacy.
It does. It's two different titles, but can you say he's a 10-time Intercontinental Champion?
You can, but
it's two different titles.
Yeah, I was saying to myself earlier, I said, whether or not you count it as a 10th Intercontinental title reign or you don't, or whatever the case, this is his first run with the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Anything he does, actually, you know what? Let's just go. Anything he did, like maybe 2012 further, is just expanding his legacy. He was already a Hall of Famer in 2012. He was already a Hall of Famer in 05. Think about it. When he left WWE in 05 and he came back in 07.
Yes. Yeah.
He was already a Hall of Famer. He already did so much. He was already a 12-plus year veteran at that time.
Had, I think, 7 or 8 Intercontinental title runs. Yeah. He was the first undisputed champion already at that point.
He was already a 3-time world champion at that time.
Yeah.
He was a Hall of Famer. Anything he's done from then until now is just adding on to his list of accomplishments and his resume.
And something else that Jericho has is he's getting up there in age, but he hasn't lost a step.
No, not at all.
He's not like one of those guys who's kind of holding on to the spotlight as long as possible. Right. He keeps reinventing himself, and it's over every single time. Think about 2008.
Right.
Where he wore the suit and tie.
He was a great heel.
Used big words, etc.
Yes.
You look at last year or 2 years ago with Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
They were the backbone of Raw for almost the whole year. They were the most entertaining part of the show.
They carried Raw.
He started the thing with having the list.
Right.
Now in New Japan, he's over there. Like he consistently reinvents himself.
Yes.
And it's successful every time.
Yeah. He reminds me of, like an Undertaker, or one of those guys who can adapt and perform at a high level all the time. Jericho, definitely. He's been able to adapt. He's taken care of himself. And another thing, he's never been injured.
That is true, yes.
This is incredible. Like you talk about somebody who's had, a 25-plus year career, who's never been injured.
Yes.
I mean, that alone that's an accomplishment.
When he is gone, it's been because he decided to take a step back.
He's never been injured.
In 2005, he left because he was burned out.
Right.
But his contract expired. He wasn't hurt. He decided it was time to take a step back.
Right. That was all his decision.
All his decision.
Anytime he's left, like you just said, it was all his decision. It was his choice. He's never been injured. Like that's an accomplishment. That's a testament to how you are as a worker, and being never injured. In
this business, that is something. Yeah.
That gives you credibility as somebody who you want to work with. And he's one of the greats. He's definitely going to go in the Hall of Fame. Like I said before, anything he does from 07, 11 years ago until now is just adding on to his legacy.
It really is.
And now he's the first. He's in his first reign as the IWGP Intercontinental Champion.
Yes.
He's going to have a great reign. Now, I wanted to talk about this because I looked this up, and he's still in contract with WWE. He's still under contract with the WWE, but from the online sources, he's still under a non-contractual agreement with New Japan.
Yeah, Jericho, I don't know what those online sources think. I don't think he's actually under contract with WWE at this point.
You don't think so?
There's no way they would allow that. They're not going to allow him to go to a different promotion and then win a championship there also. It's not happening.
I mean, you never thought Brock Lesnar would venture to the UFC and be under contract with WWE. Vince has opened his mind
a little bit
over the last few years, and he's definitely seen the value in some of these guys. Jericho definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it personally.
I do.
I don't think he's actually signed.
I think he's signed to both. I think he's under a non-verbal agreement with New Japan, with some restrictions. Don't get me wrong. I still think there's some level of a contractual agreement with New Japan where he has to perform under certain dates, and absolutely, there's no way you can just go off of a verbal agreement because that can be broken off at any time.
Yeah.
I think with WWE, I do think maybe he's under a Legends contract where he's doing part-time appearances.
Yeah, because there are certain contracts. I know, like someone like Jerry the King Lawler has a deal with WWE for commentary or whatever, but he wrestles some indie shows every now and then or appears to them, etc.
Right.
And that's something different. Even Corey Graves can do it.
Right. And I think Jericho is, even at his age and at the point of his career, where he doesn't have to work full-time anymore. He doesn't have to be full-time with the WWE. He doesn't have to work a full-time schedule. He doesn't have to work live events. He can just work these one-off appearances or these pay-per-views or the big events. He doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to do a full-time schedule. And I think that's what Vince has signed him to. I think it's a part-time Legends contract. And I think he's able to do New Japan in this,
Yeah, there's no way to know for sure, I don't think, unless you actually have,
True.
Jericho come out and say it or McMahon come out and say it.
Sure.
But, I don't know. I don't feel like he's under contract, but there's no way to know for sure.
There's no way to know unless we ask the guy himself.
Yeah, and let's face it, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, he's not going to confirm or deny anything to us. It's all speculation. But he is, regardless of what you think, regardless of your opinion, regardless of what you see on TV, he is the IWGP Intercontinental Champion.
Yes.
So let's just go with that.
And then real quick to finish up the New Japan Dominion show.
Sure.
Kenny Omega and Okada went over an hour in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and that match was won by the cleaner Kenny Omega.
That's incredible. An hour-long main event.
Something you will never see WWE do.
No, not at all. And if you do see it, it's one of those rare occasions, like a Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart WrestleMania 12 type main event.
I still think one of the best ones I've seen was Michael Cena from England.
Yes.
In the hour-long match.
Yes, I remember watching that.
And Michael went over clean, and I was so pumped.
Yes, I remember watching that and being pumped and thrilled and upset at the same time. Because I said to myself, if they can have an hour-long classic on TV and give it away for free, why didn't Michaels win at WrestleMania the week prior?
Yeah.
Again, we're going off topic here, but I think Shawn Michaels should have won at WrestleMania, should have won the championship, and then lost to Cena on Raw if they were to have the
especially because that match wasn't for the title either.
It wasn't.
That was not a title match.
Right. It was just, at the time, it was just protecting Cena because Cena was making that transition into being the face of the company at that time.
But yeah, Kenny Omega wins the title, just continues to rise as one of the top wrestling acts in the entire world, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Kenny Omega at one point was signed by WWE. It was
he really?
I believe it was 10 years ago. He never made it past FCW, I think, or anything. But look what WWE had, and they wouldn't use him correctly. But now he is one of the top acts in the world, along with Cody, the Bullet, the whole Bullet Club, the Young Bucks, etc. But that show, the New Japan show, Dominion, that is what pro wrestling should be. It was an incredible show, and you got a ton of talent.
It's what pro wrestling should be without its restrictions, like WWE has. WWE heavily dumbs down professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
It dumbs down everything. If a guy gets busted open, the match stops. And now the referee has to put on the rubber gloves and treat the cut or whatever it is. And, and there's so many moves that are banned that you have guys that that can be phenomenal and are just great. What I mean by that is they can be phenomenal if you let them do what they can do, and they're only great when you milk them down and you limit their moveset.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's sad, but with WWE, you look at what they've become in the last 2018,
They
the
went
last
10 years
10
ago.
years, yeah, at least the last 10 years, and they have a lot of sponsors. They have a lot of contractual agreements with certain networks that they have to answer to. They're a PG show now. They had to definitely tone down their level of violence, their swear words on TV.
They push the envelope here and there.
Yeah,
with
sure.
what they try to do.
Maybe during WrestleMania time, but it's watered down.
It is, yeah.
And I think a lot of guys our age, I'm 26, you're 27?
27 next week.
27 next week. So a lot of guys our age see now the value in pro wrestling outside of the WWE. And
we do, but it's so hard for us to compare the WWE when we grew up in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
If you're a younger fan now, 13, 14, you're watching WWE now, you might not think it's that bad because you didn't know the Attitude Era. You didn't see Stone Cold.
Sure,
you didn't see The
sure,
Rock. You didn't
sure.
see The Undertaker in his prime. You didn't see the rise of Triple H.
Right.
You have to look at it that way also.
Yeah, you didn't see the Attitude Era. You didn't see how great that was. You didn't see the WWE go head on against the WCW.
So you have to look at it from a different perspective also, with what we grew up in and what the new generation is growing up on.
Right. And it's unfortunate because the new generation at this time, they have NXT. And I think NXT is the greatest thing to happen in WWE in the last 20 years. Because if you look back in 20 years ago, the developmental system in the WWE was horrible. They're performing in front of like a 15-person crowd at OVW, and they had little to no direction. They had Jim Cornette.
You had John Cena's name was Prototype. Batista's name was Leviathan. Like that's what you're giving me? You're giving me Leviathan versus Prototype.
Right,
wow,
right.
That's money right there.
Yeah, you had those guys who were just coming up and trying to make a name for themselves. But they were performing in front of 15-person crowds. You fast forward now to NXT. They're performing weekly on the WWE Network. They have limited restrictions. Obviously, they have to follow the PG formula, but they're not on TV time. They're not on the television show like USA Network or where is on SmackDown on now?
It's the USA Network. They're both USA Network.
Yeah, sorry about that. SmackDown's on the USA Network as well. So they're not on TV restrictions. There's a difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they heavily rely on wrestling versus what the WWE relies on is their storytelling and their poor booking and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the segments that they do.
NXT has the storytelling also, but they focus more on the wrestling.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. NXT focuses on the wrestling. It focuses, and I notice this too. When they do storylines, it means something.
It does.
Versus WWE, when they do storylines, it's kind of just thrown in together, last minute with no real sense and no real long-term plans for the people involved. NXT, there's a reason for what they're doing. Like right now in NXT, the Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet.
That is going to be a phenomenal match. I can't wait to watch that match.
I can't wait to watch that either. You can tell that the Velveteen Dream might lose, but I'm not upset by that. Because
I don't think it matters who wins or loses.
I agree with that. Because there's long-term plans for both of these guys.
Yes.
Ricochet, if he wins, hell, maybe not the NXT title, but the North American Championship against Adam Cole. Velveteen Dream. If he wins or if he loses, again, Adam Cole for the NXT North American Championship.
Having that North American title is huge for NXT.
Yes.
Having that having that be like a mid-card title, basically. Basically the U.S. title, North American title.
I agree.
That's a huge thing to have.
Right. So there's the whole booking aspect of NXT that's so much better now than it was back then. I think if NXT was around back then, you would have seen a bigger influx of talent roll into the WWE at that time and take over the roster. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we're just talking fantasy here, but
And
NXT is the greatest thing to happen in the WWE in the last 20 years.
it would have came at perfect time too if it was 2002 because when they did the first brand extension.
Sure,
and you would have had
Now,
Raw was 2 hours still, and SmackDown I think was still on UPN at that point. But you get the point.
SmackDown at the time was being managed by Paul Heyman and the creative team.
And it wasn't a live show at the time either.
True.
But yeah, we're talking fantasy here, so let's stick with that.
Sure.
So let's talk some fantasy warfare matches that we would wish could happen but won't.
Sure. You know what? You can go first because.
So I got a few fantasy matches that I thought of. Wilson's got some of his own. We're gonna go through those, talk them a little bit, and
sure.
If you guys have a difference of opinion or comment, leave a comment below.
Please do.
The first one I want to talk about is 2000 era China versus today's era Charlotte.
That would be a great match. That is a match that I could see at WrestleMania.
Yes, I agree. That is absolutely a Mania quality matchup.
And I told you this before. 2000 China versus Charlotte now, right?
Yes.
Charlotte would have a chance. Charlotte would have a very good chance of beating China. However, if you're going 1997 China, there's no way Charlotte would win. That's just my opinion.
No, but, you also think the way China was booked at the time, how the booking is now, you never know what would actually happen overall.
Right.
I think Charlotte could. It's believable for Charlotte to win for that way.
Yes.
I still think China would be the one that goes over.
You think so?
I think so. I think just with the legacy she has, and keep in mind we're going by 2000 China. It's not like if she had still been alive today.
Well, this is the China. This is the China that was with Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, but she, as far as in the ring goes, she's still.
The thing is, yeah.
Because keep in mind, the beginning of 2000, she was in matches with Chris Jericho and Hardcore Holly for the Intercontinental title. So we're still talking, that's still the same year.
I think China was in her prime in 1997, 1998, 1999. I think that was her prime. Not saying 2000, 2001 wasn't. In that era, in 2000 and 2001, she was more of a manager type.
I can see that. Yeah.
Type of role with Eddie, and that was that was entertaining at the time. In 2001, towards the end of her WWE career, she was.
Well, she had a women's title reign.
Let's be honest. She was sexualized at that time.
As all women were in the company at that point.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I would agree. Women's wrestling wasn't as big as it was now. She was definitely sexualized, but she still had that magic that she had back in the late 90s and the mid 90s. You're right. So if I would agree. Well, who did you say would win the match?
I think China would still win.
China, I agree. I think China would still win. I think Charlotte would have she would definitely have a chance, but I still would go with China. I think China would have the strength advantage. I think China would have I think she might even have the speed advantage. People might disagree with me.
I think as far as technical ability goes, you're going to Charlotte.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree with that 100%. Charlotte would have the technical ability. China would have the strength and speed.
And it'd be something that would be great to see.
Absolutely.
Sticking with 2000s, Edge and Christian versus today's Usos.
Oh, that's a great match. Wow. That is a great match you thought of.
2000, that was the peak of Edge and Christian, their tag team title runs. TLC had just come around.
Yeah, you're right.
And the Usos, the run they've been in the last year and a half or so, they are the best tag team in WWE right now.
They are. I agree with you. Oh, man, that's a tough one. Now, is this a singles match, or is this a TLC match, or is this
I was thinking of it as just a regular tag team match, but yeah, imagine if it was a TLC match or a cage match or something else involved. Oh, man.
I think if it's a TLC, it's just so hard to tell because Edge and Christian were able to perform at a high level in TLC matches and normal matches.
Yes.
In a normal match, I would give it to the Usos.
I agree.
In a TLC match, I would give it to Edge and Christian.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I think.
And that is just slightly because Edge alone was such a great competitor. That's not even factoring in Christian. But yeah, you're right. In a regular match, I would give it to the Usos. TLC, I would give it to Edge and Christian.
E and C go to the Uso Penitentiary. So we're gonna go with the Usos on that, and I agree with both of those. If it's TLC or ladder match, Edge and Christian.
Absolutely.
Regular match, it's the Usos. The other one I thought of. I think this is an interesting one.
Sure.
By today's perspective, anyway. Andre the Giant versus Braun Strowman.
Wow.
Mainly because of the way Braun Strowman has been built up.
Now, which era of Andre the Giant are you talking about? Because I watched Andre the Giant's documentary not too long ago, about 2 months ago. And I didn't know this because I was an ignorant wrestling fan. And I was unfortunately born in 1992. Andre the Giant had like a 30-year wrestling career that we didn't even know of.
Yes.
Like 10 years of it was in the WWE. So which Andre the Giant are we talking about? Are we talking Andre in the 70s, or are we talking Andre?
We're talking like
in the 80s,
like
60s?
mid 80s, right around the time Hogan beat him at Mania 3, somewhere in there where he was still dominant, he was undefeated in WWE.
Well, Mania 3, Andre was pretty much done with the company. He shouldn't have been wrestling at the time.
No, true. So maybe in the early 80s then, I guess we're going with.
Early 80s against Braun now?
Yes.
That's a good one. Because Braun, I'm not a fan of Braun Strowman. I'm not a fan of his booking. I'm not a fan of his wrestling. But I'll give him credit when credit is due. He's very athletic for a big man.
Yes.
And now, against Andre the Giant, let's just go in his prime. Andre is 77.
Okay.
In his prime versus Braun now, man, that's a tough one.
I'm still going Andre. If we're talking Andre in his prime, it's got to be Andre.
I give it to Andre. Because
Andre was undefeated. Braun has been, pinned a few times. Granted, it was to Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, which is a joke.
Sure.
Real quick, I just want to I have a rant. The fact that Braun Strowman lost the Elimination Chamber is a travesty. He did all the work, took like 10 finishers, eliminates everyone, and Roman just comes in to take the victory at the end.
And he eliminated
him
with a spear, right?
I think he hit 2 of them, but yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah. Well, that's beside the point.
Because everyone wanted to see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
As we roll our eyes here.
That's not happening.
Well, so how about you give us some of your fantasy matches that you have?
Sure, but before that, I agree. I'm going to give it to Andre. Braun Strowman at the time, actually now, he just has what? The power slam? The power slam?
Really, yeah.
He just has a power slam, and he just roars. Andre the Giant at the time, let's be honest, Andre was athletic. He had the strength. He had the charisma. He had the look. He had all it takes to make a superstar at the time. The differentiation between the two is that Braun is strictly with WWE. Whatever.
True.
Andre at the time, he was wrestling for multiple companies, and he was being promoted by multiple territorial wrestling companies.
That is true.
As a headliner.
In the days you can do that.
Yes.
Which are long gone.
Right. Those are definitely long gone. We're talking about 2 different eras of professional wrestling, and Andre definitely would have won. I think he was a bigger superstar. Obviously, he was a bigger superstar. He was a bigger attraction, and yeah, I'll give it to Andre. So yeah, moving on to my fantasy matches. This is for the WWE Championship.
Okay.
AJ Styles, the champion, who's the current champion, versus Aleister Black.
Ooh. Styles and Aleister Black, who is still undefeated also.
Under his Aleister Black name.
Yes. I know he lost in the tournament. But yeah.
UK tournament?
Yeah, under the Aleister Black name. You know, I feel like I still have to go with AJ Styles. I do, because I'm hard-pressed to find someone who's legitimately better than AJ Styles in the ring. Maybe a Seth Rollins. I don't think... are we talking Aleister Black now, or are we talking a couple years from now? Because who knows what they'll do with him.
I think Aleister Black now is just as dominant as he was back then.
He is, but I still have to go with AJ Styles as in terms of like just the wrestling and what we've seen from both of them so far,
Sure.
I can't go against AJ Styles. I could see Black beating him and being champion, but I have to go with AJ Styles.
Here's a tough pill to swallow. AJ Styles is past his prime.
Yes.
That's the pill that nobody wants to swallow. He's still good. He's still great. But he's past his prime. Aleister Black.
Can't say he's coming into his prime, I guess.
He's in his early 30s, yes. He's coming into his prime. He's the NXT champion right now. Athletically, Aleister Black has the advantage.
Yes.
Experience-wise, AJ Styles has the advantage.
And I think that would give it to him. I really do.
Yes, that gives AJ Styles the advantage to a certain extent, because when Aleister Black has the physical advantage, experience will only take you so far.
Agreed.
Experience will only take you to countering certain moves and using certain tactics to win the match. But when your physical peak is at its prime against someone who has more experience than you, unfortunately, the physical aspect of your wrestling ability overrides that. That's my opinion.
I think
Aleister Black would win the match. That's my opinion.
I still think with the experience he has, and because even he's still so good at 40 years old, I can't go against him.
He is. He's great at 40 years old. For people his age, like look at Cena. He's part-time now. He can't compete in the WWE full-time anymore. He's admitted that.
No, yeah.
That's not me saying it. That's Cena saying it.
When he faced Roman, I believe it was No Mercy last year.
Yes.
After the pay-per-view, he said that he can't go at such an intense level anymore.
He can't.
And that Roman took the torch, it wasn't passed, which I think is garbage because it was just to plug Roman, but still.
Yeah,
but he admitted it.
He said that he can't do it anymore. He's done it for 12 plus years. Look at AJ Styles, who's at the same age as Cena, and he's working maybe just as hard or harder than he was when he was in his 30s or 20s.
True.
Man.
So we're disagreeing on this one.
I'm going to go with Aleister Black. I'm sorry.
You're going with Black? I'm going with AJ Styles. Let us know what you think in the comments, Black or Styles.
I'm going to go with, if I'm going to predict the finish, I'm going to go with AJ Styles misses a step during the match, and Aleister Black takes advantage.
All right. What do we got next here?
Okay, moving on. Kurt Angle from 2006. Now, we've both seen Kurt Angle's documentary.
Yes.
At the time, he was heavily on drugs. He was definitely on painkillers, and he was addicted to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's disregard that, and let's just look at his wrestling ability, which is incredible at the time.
So we're just talking about his wrestling ability here.
This is Kurt Angle, the wrestling machine at the time.
Yes.
In 2006, his match with Undertaker at No Way Out, 2006.
Great match.
His triple threat match with Kurt Angle. With, yeah, I'm stuttering here. With I'm sorry guys, I'm actually really excited about this. With Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio.
Yep, Mania 22. Yep.
Yes, that triple threat match he had with them, and the those matches he had with Cena in late 05.
That was a great feud.
Yes, Kurt Angle from 2006 versus Cesaro.
Wow.
Right.
Now, I have a little bit of a biased opinion here.
Sure.
Because I actually saw Cesaro wrestle in late 2005 with ROH.
You did? I did not know this.
I saw him wrestle Baby Bear Alex Shelley at an ROH show where he was Claudio Castagnoli. It was a 20-minute draw. But since I have seen him wrestle live in person, at basically the same time frame, I got to go with Kurt Angle. Cesaro is great. I love Cesaro. Don't get me wrong. But Kurt Angle at that time, he was just the world champion. He was just in one of the main events of WrestleMania. I can't go against that. And I see you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I'm not. I'm actually agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Because I can predict the finish. I can predict Cesaro's going for the neutralizer, and somehow Kurt Angle, being as good as he is, countering that into the ankle lock.
I could see Cesaro picking him up like he's gonna do it. Kurt Angle just kind of slipping away, picking the ankle, and then he's already on the ground with the ankle lock.
I can see it happening. Yeah, you're right.
It's perfect. Yeah,
you're right. I would give it to Kurt Angle.
So going Kurt Angle with that one over Cesaro.
I agree. Next match that I have on here, Pete Dunne, the current WWE United Kingdom champion.
The Bruiserweight
versus William Regal at his prime.
Wow.
That would be a great match. I don't care who wins this match. But
for those of you who don't watch the UK stuff or NXT,
sure.
go look up Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate right now.
Yeah.
Like stop listening to us and go watch that match, and then come back and listen to the rest of this.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that match, but William Regal in his prime, oh my god.
Actually, Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne won the match of the year for 2017.
An NXT match won WWE's match of the year.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. But yeah, wow. I'm trying to think, William Regal in his prime, that is something that's, I'm not sure, it's hard to say if Pete Dunne will be able to overcome William Regal's prime because Pete Dunne is still, on the younger side of things.
I think, man, this is tough. I'm going to give it to William Regal.
Yeah.
I think Pete Dunne is so young. I think we forget this. He's only 23. William Regal, even in his prime, I think would have caught Pete Dunne in his offense and would have used the Regal stretch or that running knee that he uses and would have taken care of Pete Dunne. However, that's not taken away from Pete Dunne's ability. I think Pete Dunne represents a hybrid of William Regal in his prime and Fit Finlay in his prime.
I could see that, especially the bruiserweight.
Yes.
That almost goes back to what we were talking about earlier with experience over youth, I guess.
Yeah.
With Styles and Black. Only this time, the experience is getting the upper hand. But, Aleister Black is 32 and Styles is 39. William Regal in his prime over Pete Dunne, 23. There's a difference there with the age and whatnot.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I think we got to go with William Regal. I do.
I would agree.
But I love Pete Dunne. I wish he was full-time on the roster.
He will be, eventually. He's the longest reigning United Kingdom champion.
There's been two of them.
Sure, but this is what...
God, there's only been 2 United Kingdom champions.
Well, hold on. Before you guys who are listening laugh at me, too. There's only been 2 reigns. I agree with you, Chris. However, you have to agree with me that whoever beats Pete Dunne or whoever beats the guy who beats Pete Dunne, so on and so forth, aren't going to have as long as title reign as Pete Dunne has had.
I agree. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I think that Pete Dunne has been champion for so long because they see the value in him. And they see, for Pete Dunne, he has a presence. He has the look. He has the ability. He has the charisma.
He does.
He has it all. I think he's a superstar. And WWE sees that. And whether or not he drops the title at the end of this United Kingdom tournament or not, I think he's definitely going to be a definite main focus on the main roster soon. Maybe not now, but maybe towards the end of the year. I definitely agree with that.
I could see it because he's so young. They could really build around him.
He's only 23.
Yeah,
he's only 23.
Don't rush him. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Build him up into a star.
Right. He's got his whole career ahead of him. Him and Tyler Bate, they're only in their early 20s, and they're so good now. I mean, they're only going to get better from here.
Yeah. I mean,
let's move forward.
They had their match. Pete Dunne was 21 or 22, and Bate was 19. So let's just let that sink in. That their combined age was less than 40.
Right.
And they put in the match of the year.
Right.
So yeah, but let's moving on.
Let's move forward. The Ultimate Warrior from 1989 versus John Cena. Currently.
Ultimate Warrior. It's because you said John Cena currently.
I would agree.
If you had said John Cena from 06, I would have said Cena.
Really?
Well, that's when Cena was in his his lengthy title runs, like 06 to 07, he had the year-long reign. Except, I
think Cena back then was more inexperienced.
True.
And I said this before last week. Cena back then was more inexperienced. Cena now, from 2012 and up, maybe 2011 and up, definitely more experienced.
But because you're saying now in 2018, because he's 40,
I would give it to Warrior. I agree.
I think if we take 5 or 6 years off of Cena, bring him back to 2012, then I'd say Cena. Especially because at that point he's got some 10 years of experience. He's got multiple title runs and he's younger. He's only 34, 35.
Right. You're right.
But we're going with now Warrior.
Warrior?
Yes.
I would give it to Warrior as well. I agree with you. At this time, Warrior was the Intercontinental Champion.
Yes.
I believe he defeated the Honky Tonk Man.
Yes, SummerSlam.
Right.
Ending Honky Tonk Man's over a year-long reign.
Yes, he just ended that long title run.
He ended a 64-week reign, and it was, 20, 30 seconds, if that?
Yeah.
He came out and just squashed him.
It was a squash match, right?
Yeah.
So Warrior is the Intercontinental. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
John Cena definitely would lose that match. Next match. Trish Stratus from the 2004-2005 era versus the Fabulous Moolah in her prime, which would be maybe the late 60s, early 70s, for the women's championship.
I mean, look, I feel like you can't go against Fabulous Moolah in this situation because of her 27-year-long reign or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now, which, by the way, if you look that up, it wasn't consecutive. I think she actually lost the belt in there a few times, but WWE doesn't acknowledge that. But notwithstanding, it was a 27-year reign or whatever it may be. You can't go against that. And I love Trish Stratus, but you can't go against that.
You can't. Fabulous Moolah had a very aggressive style to her wrestling ability. Trish was more athletic.
True.
And she was more,
You're talking almost 40 years apart in the generation here, too, so...
This is why it's so hard.
Yeah, they're so different. It's so different.
This is why it's so hard, because Fabulous Moolah was very aggressive in her wrestling ability, and she was very charismatic at the same time.
True. Yes.
And she carried the title with class.
She did. Yeah,
she carried the title with dignity. Trish Stratus, unfortunately, was born in the wrong era, or was brought up in the wrong era into professional wrestling. She was in the era when there was, pillow fights and brawn panties matches.
She came up during the Attitude Era. Right.
And her first major storyline was with Vince, and the whole Vince was cheating on Linda thing, and yeah.
And
let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But that was her big break.
She was the manager of a tag team called TNA. Test and Albert, for those of you who don't remember that.
Right. So put Trish in that era, in Fabulous Moolah era, in that era in the 60s and maybe late 50s and early 70s.
Yes, if Trish is in that era, then maybe we're talking differently. I still think Moolah wins, so I do.
I would give it to Moolah because of that. Yes, I would give it to Moolah. Trish, unfortunately, I would give it to Moolah.
And if you think Trish would win, let us know.
I want Trish to win, but I think Fabulous Moolah in her prime would defeat Trish.
Yeah, well, this isn't who you want to win. It's who you think would actually win. Yeah, I would love to see Trish win, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I think Moolah would have caught her in the camel clutch or whatever she was using at the time. She would have ended the match.
Do we have any more, or is that all the fantasy matches?
That's all I have for now.
So that's all for Fantasy Warfare for this week.
Definitely. Dave Meltzer from...
Dave Meltzer.
Dave Meltzer, yes. He confirmed that Rey Mysterio is potentially returning to WWE soon.
Yes, I did hear that Mysterio... The negotiations are still ongoing.
Yeah, apparently he could be returning as early as September, but Dave Meltzer confirmed that it could actually happen before SummerSlam.
That'd be interesting because Rey Mysterio is booked for the All-In show September 1st.
It's funny you say that because he made his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut this past weekend.
Did that also.
So it's a matter of determining when WWE... Actually, let me rephrase that. It's determining if WWE wants to sign him to a full-time deal or a part-time deal. Because then you have to factor in money. You have to factor in the schedule. You have to factor in the opponents, the dates. There's so much to factor in. But WWE is definitely interested. He definitely would play a major factor in the roster now. In an interview with Rey Mysterio, they asked him about this. And he said a potential Latino World Order reunion could take place.
That'd be something I'd be interested in seeing personally.
Right. A reformation is a better word to use rather than reunion. Back then in 1998, 1999, Eddie Guerrero, WWE Hall of Famer, was the leader of the LWO.
Yep.
and Ray didn't oppose the idea of a LWO reformation. He didn't, so that would be great to see because of the influx of Latino wrestlers at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now in WWE, you have Andrade Cien Almas, who's arguably in his prime.
I would say he would have to be in that stable. I think.
Absolutely.
You can't not put him in that stable.
Absolutely.
If that was to happen.
You have Andrade Cien Almas, Kalisto, Lince Dorado.
I think it's
Sin Cara.
Kalisto, Lince Dorado, and I think Grand Metalik are doing they have a stable on 205 Live called Lucha House Party.
Yeah,
it's more of a joke thing than anything else.
That'll run its course.
At least they're doing something with them. Lucha House Party.
But you have you have the influx of Hispanic wrestlers that Rey Mysterio, I believe, would be probably the perfect candidate to be the lead of that stable.
Yes.
And I would love to see where that goes. Being a Hispanic person myself, and being a fan of Rey Mysterio, and how he was world champion despite his size, and how he made it work. I would love to see how he would help elevate these guys to a bigger.
He's got the name credibility also.
Yeah. He's a legend. He's going to be, he's definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, he definitely didn't oppose that. That's definitely in the works.
He needs to be a part-time guy, though.
Oh, absolutely.
With his past injuries, you can't bring him back full-time.
He's in his 40s. He's in his 40s now. He definitely can't do a full-time schedule.
TV only.
Right. However, Dave Meltzer confirmed that the return is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. September, before SummerSlam. What pay-per-view is happening in September again?
They've been changing the schedule up all the time. I'm not really sure.
Right. I believe in September after SummerSlam might be TLC. I could be wrong.
No, TLC is the end of the year.
No, TLC is actually in October.
Oh, they're moving around. Oh, it's Clash of Champions in December now.
We'll look that up right now.
But yeah, I think Mysterio, he can't come back full time. If you're having him do house shows and stuff, also he's got to be in like 6-man tags or something.
Oh, September is Hell in a Cell.
So they used to be in October.
Yeah, they just recently changed that. So it could be either SummerSlam, Hell in a Cell, TLC. One of those three. Dave Meltzer said that it's going to happen soon.
And we'll see, if and when that actually does happen.
Right. Ronda Rousey was recently announced for the UFC Hall of Fame.
Yes.
On July 5th in Las Vegas during the International Fight Week. What do you think about that?
It's no surprise. I mean, look, the way her MMA career ended was bad. She lost to Holly Holm, and she got wrecked by Amanda Nunes. But for what she did for the sport of MMA, especially for women, you can't take that away from her.
Not at all.
And I think she deserves a spot. Because she revolutionized the sport for women. So she deserves it. I mean, she's in WWE now. She's a wrestler now. She's no longer an MMA fighter, but she deserves to be in the UFC Hall of Fame.
I agree. She broke down barriers, and she made a name for herself in the UFC. She deserves it.
She put some focus on the sport itself.
Oh, yeah,
not
absolutely.
for women, but for the whole sport.
Absolutely. This is a time where Brock Lesnar was leaving this sport, and you didn't have a highlighter. You didn't have somebody who was carrying the company. Let's be real here. For a female, she was carrying the company.
And she main evented some of their pay-per-views.
Yeah.
She was the main event.
Yeah, she was. And she was knocking out opponents in, 20 seconds? Maybe less?
There was one match, I want to say it was against Misha Tate. I think she won in like 14 seconds. Yeah. I watched another one where she main evented against Beth Correa, who was also undefeated at the time. And one of our friends, Andrew Standish, who's my co-host on the Warning Track podcast I also do, we watched that fight together. And he looked at me right before it started and goes, under or over 35 seconds. And I said, you know what? Over. It went 34 seconds. 34. So, that's how quick some of them were.
Yeah, Ronda was and is an attraction.
Agreed.
Yes, so she definitely deserves this. I'm happy for her. I hope she is one of many who go into the Hall of Fame.
Her UFC fight days are behind her, but what she did for the sport.
I don't disagree with that. However, I do think if she decides to go back into the UFC, she definitely has the potential to do that.
She does. She's still at the that age where it would work.
She's so young. She's only in her early 30s.
But I think she's committed to WWE at this point. But yeah, she deserves a Hall of Fame spot.
Right. Hulk Hogan.
Hulkster.
Yes, in an interview recently, he stated that his return with the WWE is pretty much closer than ever before. He said things are moving in that direction, and it's just a matter of the perfect timing and place.
You got to think it's going to happen at one of the bigger events, whether it may be SummerSlam or Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. You're not going to bring Hulk Hogan back just on a random Monday Night Raw. You're not.
No, I think with what's happened with Hogan in the last few years, you can have an opinion on that with what he said, his racist comments.
Yeah, let's not get into that too much.
Well,
we know what he said, so.
Sure. Yeah, we know what he said. But let's be real here. He said it 12 years ago, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, whatever, however long it's been. It was that long ago. People can change. I believe he's changed. The seriousness of the situation has more to do with the WWE and how they treat things like this.
They don't want to be associated, thinking people think WWE is racist or they have that guy in the books.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Hogan is a great human being. I think Hogan is a great person. I think sometimes we speak out of anger and we speak out of our own emotions, and we might not mean what we say. I think this is what happened to Hogan, and he was a victim of it. And he won a civil trial a few years ago.
He did, yes.
Or a year ago, something like that. His audio was leaked falsely.
Yes.
He was acquitted of whatever charges. I don't know the full details of it. But
there's a whole illegal sex tape and stuff too.
Yeah. There's a big mix of it.
There's been different stories and messes and whatnot.
Right, but he was acquitted and he was awarded several $1 million in a lawsuit. So Hogan is a great human being. I don't think he meant any malice by it about what he said.
Regardless,
this was years ago. Whoever's listening to this, people change. Forgive people. Sometimes we say things, and even you who are listening, and even myself, we say things out of anger that we don't mean, and we're human beings. And
yeah, it happens.
We all deserve forgiveness. We all deserve second chances and whatever. But that's beyond the case.
It is.
Hogan is scheduled to return to the WWE. Don't forget his past accomplishments. Don't forget his contributions to the company. Don't forget the fact that he's the biggest name in professional wrestling.
Yep.
Don't forget the fact that he can still have a immediate effect, and he still has drawing power in the company.
Absolutely.
The question is, like you just said, it's a matter of when. SummerSlam,
yeah, it's not if, it's when.
Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. If I'm the WWE, I would probably save it for WrestleMania. I don't think there's...
That would make sense,
I don't think there's a rush. I think...
well, he's not coming in to wrestle, so...
No. I think you could do it slowly. You might... you could promote him slowly, promote his WrestleMania matches, promote some matches that he's done with the WWE, WCW stuff. Promote him slowly. And then I think what Hogan has to do, and people might disagree with me, and that's fine, he might have to do an apology.
I think he did apologize recently, actually.
Did he really?
It was a public apology, yes. Something along the lines of he was sorry for what he said. He didn't repeat himself, obviously. But he did apologize.
I think maybe in the WWE's eyes, because the WWE is more conscious of this, he might have to do a public apology. He might not have to go into specifics of it. He might just have to say, listen, he goes on TV and says, you guys know what I said, but I'm sorry, and I regret what I said, and I love you all.
If he were to do that, it would not be a WWE program.
You don't think so? I think it is.
No way they would let him do that.
I think it is.
I don't think they do that.
I think so. We might disagree there.
They would stay away from that entirely.
I disagree, because if they're going to bring him back, they don't want to bring that stigma and that bad publicity with him. I think if they brought him back, they would have him issue a public apology on TV. Now, I don't think they would have him do a detailed apology. they would probably just have him do something along the lines of, "Hey guys, I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry if I offended anybody, but I love you all. You are all my fans, and I love you."
I would
Thank
be
you.
stunned if that happened.
I don't think that's.
I think that's
too
something
far.
that they would do on social media.
I don't think that's something too far from the truth. I think he would do that on TV, and I think he owes that to the black community. Now, this is my opinion.
I'm not saying he doesn't owe it, but I just don't think WWE's gonna put that on their television program. That's what I think. It's not that he shouldn't do it. It's that WWE won't have him do it.
We might disagree there, but yeah.
All right, we'll agree to disagree
But
there.
beside the point, I could see him hosting a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
35.
I could absolutely. New York, it's New Jersey technically, but they're promoting as New York.
Yeah, there's no love lost for Hogan. I still love him. He's
especially in the New York area where WrestleMania 1 was.
He's a legend. He's an icon. He's he's a human being. He's made mistakes, but
absolutely.
I forgive him. We all move past that. Let's move forward to the Money in the Bank and Takeover Chicago card, which we discussed last week, but.
Yeah, we're just going to rerun through it real quick to give our final predictions.
Go ahead.
Let's hit the big matches, I think, especially NXT TakeOver. We've got Ricochet and Velveteen Dream. I mean, I'm going to go with Ricochet for that one. I don't know what you want to go with.
I'm going to go with, well, first of all, Ricochet is a better athlete, but I'm going to go with Velveteen Dream because he needs it more.
True.
Velveteen Dream needs it more because he, unfortunately, for him, he's so young that he can last in NXT for so many years to come.
True. I could see that, yeah.
And he's so good now that it's one of those things where you're so young that you have so many years ahead of you that you want to use your years wisely.
Agreed, yeah.
And you don't want to put the Velveteen Dream on the main roster so quickly because you can hurt him.
Yeah.
So a loss to Ricochet wouldn't matter, but the performance is what's going to matter.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And I think that could be match of the night. It's going to be hard with what else is on the card.
Sure.
But it could be.
Sure. And, man, this is tough. But if I'm going to go by just my opinion, I'm going to go with Ricochet. But the Velveteen Dream is going to deliver.
Agreed.
Moving on. What do you have? What else?
Shayna Baszler and Nikki Cross for the NXT Women's Championship. Look, I don't think there's any way Nikki Cross wins. Shayna Baszler's going to win. That's what I'm going with.
I agree with you. Shayna Baszler just won the NXT Women's title from Ember Moon at New Orleans. So, yeah, I agree. There's not much to really go on here.
Yeah, I really don't. I just don't think I love Nikki Cross. I do. But I don't think she's going to win. It's what it comes down to. I think Shayna Baszler's the winner.
There's not much to go off of here. Shayna Baszler won the title at New Orleans against Ember Moon. And Nikki Cross, unfortunately, is a victim of poor booking because Sanity was booked to go to SmackDown as Yet's debut. And
Nikki Cross is not with them.
Yeah, she's kind of just left on her own now.
Exactly.
So I'll give it to Shayna. Go on.
The Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong versus Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, NXT Tag Team Championship.
I'm going to give it to the Undisputed Era.
I am as well. They're with Adam Cole being the North American champion, the Undisputed Era having the tag titles. I think you got to keep all that together right now, keep building them up even farther.
And you have Bobby Fish, who's still in their corner.
Yep.
Who hasn't been cleared to compete yet. But
doesn't mean he can't throw a crutch at somebody during the match.
Exactly. So I'm going to give it to the Undisputed Era. They're almost at 200 days as champion. They won it in November of 2017. So
I think they're going to hold it to at least SummerSlam TakeOver in Brooklyn.
They have the potential of holding it for over a year. But yeah, I'll give it to
when you get to the SummerSlam TakeOver, that's the 1 year anniversary of them debuting.
To where?
TakeOver SummerSlam, the August show. That's what they debuted last year in Brooklyn.
You're right.
Fish and O'Reilly came out. I forget what exactly happened. Then Adam Cole came out at the end of the night and attacked Drew McIntyre.
They debuted after the NXT Championship main event. You're right. I forgot about that.
Aleister Black. Do you have another comment there?
No.
Aleister Black and Lars Sullivan, NXT Championship match.
I'm going to give it to
Aleister Black. Let's just... It's Aleister Black. I don't see Lars Sullivan holding the NXT Championship. Maybe, at least not yet. I don't see it.
Not yet. I'm I am very interested to see what Lars Sullivan can do in a big match situation like
Yeah,
this.
in a main event situation. I don't think this is the main event.
No,
We'll get to that in a second.
But that's my opinion. Go on.
Yeah, Aleister Black is the winner. The main event, which I assume will be the main event, Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano in a street fight.
I'm going to say this now, and you might quote me differently, after a few months, but this will be the match of the year.
Yes, I agree.
This match and this feud has been done so great that I believe they can carry this forward in NXT and, like I said, be match of the year and be the feud of NXT. Because you can look back at this and say, this was a great feud. These guys invested so much of what they had into it, and they can definitely carry this event and main event it.
I agree,
and
yeah.
provide a quality match that will end this feud finally.
They've got people emotionally invested into this feud.
Absolutely. I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Tommaso Ciampa left the WWE because he got injured, had multiple surgeries, comes back 9 months later, better than he was before physically, performing better than he was last time, and a bigger heel than he was ever before.
I said this last episode, I'll say it again. He spoiled the Avengers on Twitter to get heat.
Come on. What makes a better heel? I mean, this guy has all that it takes to be a star in the company. Now, that's not taking anything away from Johnny Gargano, who is a great athlete, who has got everything it takes also to be an athlete. To be a star. And, I mean, these guys are giving it all they have. They're going to deliver, if not more, at this pay-per-view. And honestly, I can't wait. Who wins? I mean, I'm going to go with Tommaso Ciampa.
I am as well.
I can see him staying in NXT after this feud and feuding with Aleister Black.
Agreed, 100%.
I can see Johnny Gargano moving on to the main roster after this.
Hopefully
SmackDown.
Although Raw really could use a new name, but they don't use Bobby Roode. No. He's suffering on Raw.
Let me stop you there because Raw has so much talent that they can use and they don't use that Johnny Gargano would just be lost in the shuffle there.
True.
On SmackDown, he can have great matches with Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Jeff Hardy. So he has...
True. Randy Orton.
He has more options there.
True. I can agree with that one.
Right. So I'm going to go with Tommaso Ciampa on this one. How about you?
I am as well. I think Gargano got his win at the last NXT show. Right. I think it's Ciampa this time around. And we'll finish up this episode of Give You a Mic with Money in the Bank. It's this Sunday.
Sure.
We've talked about it a lot. So let's just go through the card real quick. There are 10 matches scheduled for Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I actually picked up on
which does start at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's supposed to be a close to 4-hour event now, which is probably why the card is so large.
Right.
It's supposed to be going forward 7 p.m. start times, 6 p.m. for the big shows. Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. Yawn. I just can't get invested in that feud. Daniel Bryan won last time. I think Cass is going to go over to give Cass a win. I mean, what do you think?
I think Daniel Bryan doesn't need the win. He won at Backlash clean.
True. Made him tap out.
Yeah, he made Cass tap out. I think Cass is slowly moving his way out of the doghouse.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. I think Cass will win.
Yeah, I think so too. Seth Rollins and Elias Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, Seth Rollins. No doubt.
Seth Rollins, I think, is going to win also. I would love to see Elias with a championship. I don't think now is the time. Seth Rollins is on too much of a roll with the Intercontinental title. Now,
do you think Jason Jordan will have a role to play in this?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't. I don't think he would return on a pay-per-view. We'll see. We would see what happens maybe Raw after that.
Okay.
Or what happens with Chad Gable's feud with I guess. McIntyre and Ziggler, yeah. Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn.
Oh, Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley in this match, no one cares. I don't care. You don't care. Let's face it, no one cares.
I talked to you about this before. I think Bobby Lashley, when he returned, should have been reintroduced to the WWE
Yes.
audience because before he was only in the WWE for only 2 years.
Yep.
And let's be honest, 60% of the audience doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, agreed.
60% of the audience are in their 20s, 25, 27, 28-year-olds who don't, who know Lashley from his previous run. Now, most of the audience today are in their, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds.
Anyone who's a kid now is not going to know who
Right. They're not going to know who he is. A lot of these kids don't follow TNA, Impact,
Bellator too, where he's an MMA fighter.
Right. So they're not going to know who he is. That's definitely an error that WWE made in their part in not reintroducing him. I remember back in 2002 when Shawn Michaels came back, they took the time to reintroduce him to the audience, and it was only 4 years
that
he was gone from the WWE. And Bobby Lashley has been on, 12 years now?
Some 11, I believe,
Some 11, 12 years now. So that's definitely something they should have done.
Yep.
They definitely regret it now. But I'm going to give it to Lashley.
Yeah, they have to, but the feud is so bad. It is. The Bludgeon Brothers versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. I feel like this might be in the pre-show. They haven't announced kickoff show matches yet, I don't believe, so that I think it's going to be one of them.
Well, Carl Anderson earned a win over Harper.
He did. And I think what will happen is Luke Gallows do the same on SmackDown against Rowan, or vice versa. Maybe Rowan will get Gallows to even it up. But the Bludgeon Brothers are going to win.
You think so?
I do. I think the club is just going to get fed to them, unfortunately. I got to think, I feel like the Bludgeon Brothers are waiting for Sanity to arrive. I really do.
There's been no promotion for Sanity.
I know, but just the way the gimmicks would match up and mesh, I feel like that's what they're waiting on. But I'm going with Bludgeon Brothers.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I don't think Gallows and Anderson coming so soon from the Superstar Shakeup to SmackDown are going to win the tag team titles. I'm going to give it to the Bludgeon Brothers. I agree.
Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal. There is no need to even have a conversation about this match. It's Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns is going to go over. The crowd could go one of either two ways. They could either...
It's in Chicago, so they're going to boo the shit out of him.
Right. They can either crap on Roman.
They will.
Or crap on the whole match itself.
Well, that's...
Or cheer Jinder and boo Roman. I don't think it matters what they do. They're just going to crap on the whole match itself. The outcome of the match isn't going to matter.
It's not, but Roman's going to win.
I agree.
Just to say the conversation, Roman will be the winner. Carmella and Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Well, there's another joke.
You can't convince me that Carmella's going to beat Asuka. You can't. Unless there's some foul play involved of some kind.
No, you can't convince me that. You can't convince me either. Carmella doesn't have the wrestling ability to convince me that she's going to defeat Asuka.
Yeah.
And if she walks out as champion, it's going to be by DQ.
DQ finish, maybe count-out finish.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the feud continue.
Right.
But if Asuka does not walk out champion, it's because there was some kind of weird finish.
I agree.
Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship. I want to preface this by saying, if this match happens after the Women's Money in the Bank, then I think we're going to see let's jump to the Women's Money in the Bank, because I want to discuss that. Ember Moon, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss. We got Becky Lynch, Natalya,
and Lana.
Naomi and Sasha Banks. I think if that match happens before Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey, Sasha Banks wins the match, cashes in on Ronda Rousey, who will be the Raw Women's Champion, and we set the Boss and Rousey for SummerSlam.
You think so?
That's what I think would happen. Now, if it's after Jax and Rousey, I would be more inclined to go with someone like Charlotte.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't see where they would have anyone else win.
I mean, I guess I could see maybe Ember Moon winning if they want to push someone younger or a newer star. I don't think it'll happen. I think we're going with Charlotte or Sasha Banks. That's what I think. Either way, I think Rousey beats Jax. Depending on the outcome of the Women's Money in the Bank, that would determine what happens with that briefcase, perhaps. Styles and Nakamura for the WWE Championship, last man standing.
Come on, Nakamura's gonna win that.
He has to. This feud has gone on long enough. You can't keep it going if Nakamura loses again. You can't. He lost at Mania. He lost. Well, the Greatest Royal had the double finish type of thing. Backlash. Point blank is Nakamura has to be the winner, otherwise this feud is over, and he loses so much credibility.
Yeah, you can't take him serious if he loses.
This would be his sixth title match that he lost, twice to Jinder and 4 times with Styles. He has nothing if he loses.
Right, and he definitely will lose, any credibility that he had as a contender for the WWE Championship. I do give Nakamura the win on this one.
I think
he's going to pull off a title win somehow. I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe another low blow. We've seen that before.
But it's legal and last man standing, so
right.
We'll see how he pulls it out. Main event, which I assume will be the main event, is the Money in the Bank ladder match for the World Championship contract. That's the men's Money in the Bank. Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, The Miz, Rusev, Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and one member of the New Day, which is to be determined. I think it'll be Kofi Kingston. But regardless, it's not going to be a New Day member winning.
I give it to Finn Balor. He needs it more.
I'm also going with Finn Balor. Maybe Samoa Joe if they go SmackDown.
Maybe. I'm going to give it to Finn Balor. He needs it more. He deserves it more. He's probably behind Samoa Joe, the one who deserves it more.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go Finn Balor, but you never. They might try to swerve us with something. Who knows? But yeah, I think Finn Balor wins, and that's all Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And we'll, next week we'll be back with episode 4. We'll talk Money in the Bank. We'll talk the results. We're also going to revisit the Benoit tragedy 11 years later and how that has changed not only professional wrestling but sports in general.
Yeah. We're going to give our accounts of where we were during that tragedy.
I remember where I was when I found out, especially. So yeah.
I remember as well. I remember being shocked. And
let's not get into too much of it this week.
Sure. And
the anniversary is coming up of that unfortunate tragedy.
Right, and we're now 11 years.
11 years later.
11 years after, so we're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how it affected us as fans, the company itself, wrestling in general.
It changed business entirely.
Yes,
and it changed the entire landscape.
And next week we're going to talk about. I'm going to announce the pay-per-view main events for the last 11 years from 2001.
Yes, we did. Last episode we did, Wilson named 21 years of WWE champions.
Yes.
There is a video also on the End of the Day Entertainment channel, so check that out if you haven't seen that.
Please do.
That's just to prove that he was not reading off a list or anything, and he did it all from memory. So there's that. We'll do pay-per-views next week, which we'll do the same thing. We'll record on a camera as well to show you he's not cheating. All the pay-per-view main events from the last, 11 years? 12 years?
I'm going to go from 2000, early 01 to now.
That's 17 years.
Right.
17 years, every pay-per-view's main event. That is disgusting. I can't even do that if I tried. I can do a few, but not very many.
But that's all for next week. Please definitely tune in. We appreciate you listening.
Subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, End of the Day Entertainment, SoundCloud, End of the Day Entertainment, spelled with an E-N-T.
Wilson A. Detres at Snapchat and Wilson A. Detres at Twitter.
Chris Day on Facebook. Thank you all for listening. We will see you next time on Give Me a Mic.
Thank you for tuning in.